build an environment of pursuing curiosity.
You know who you are, who you really are. Like,
You are listening to Everyday Educators on 1921 Radio.
Everyday Educators, and we educate every day. Welcome, loved ones. This is Everyday Educators on 1921radio.com. I'm your host, Jeremy, here with the illustrious, as always, Naomi. What's up, Nay? Okay. And today we are...
I'm here.
Oh, okay. No, I was rolling. I thought I just couldn't hear you. Today we are here with a wonderful guest, player partner, Miss Carmen Mahon. I will hit the applause button. One day I'm gonna get the sound effects so we get the applause. There you go. Bringing the energy this morning, and she is the citywide STEM Initiatives Manager for Chicago Public Schools. Sounds very official. We're gonna come back to that. But we're just gonna do some check-ins with everybody. Starting with you, Nate. What was the best part of your week?
It was the first week of school, so the kids are back. There's always a difference in the energy on the campus when you're just there with your other 12-month colleagues versus when the kids come back and the teachers come back and parents are back. So and we had a much more energized first day of school. So we had music playing and the pep band and the mascots all over campus. So it was a vibe. We had a good time this week. So I'm excited for the year.
Carmen, what about you?
Well, I was on the Beyonce. I call it the Beyonce tour.
Okay.
But the back to school events across the city, all over the city, it literally has been 14 within the last, I think, 2 weeks. I'm not sure how I was able to clone myself, but have a team of folk to work, but I went to all of them. So I'm tired, but it was a good energy, just making sure, young people are ready to start on Monday. So
yeah. Okay. Speaking of, I was spending my week getting my godson ready. So he starts school Monday as always. And the best part of my week, I would say yesterday we went to the movies, and that's kind of our thing. So, excuse me, we went to see Blue Beetle, and so just spending some time in the show, another comic book movie. So that was dope. Now you mentioned music. The pep band and everything, and that was a wonderful segue into our first category, actual factual. And so you know that we are celebrating 50 years of hip hop. Okay, I see the bop. So, to quote from one of my favorite movies, to me the best love story, other than Love Jones, Brown Sugar. When did you first fall in love with hip hop? We're gonna start with you. When you first fall in love with hip hop?
So let me just say this for full disclosure. I feel like I was hazed into hip hop because I was all into R&B, 90s R&B, New Jack Swing, and then I saw on Sisters in the Name of Rap. I don't know if y'all remember that show, but it was Yo-Yo, I think Roxanne, Shantae. But anywho, Queen Latifah came out and did Ladies First. So I purchased
Moni Love. That's my favorite verse.
Oh my goodness. But I ended up just being exposed, and I went and bought the album. I think I went to Dr. Wax in Hyde Park.
Okay, Dr. Wax.
All hail the queen. I was trying, I was trying to learn the words, looking at the tape deck, trying to read the words. I was trying. So that is my introduction, I think, to hip hop. But yeah.
That's a great introduction. That was a phenomenal song.
Yes.
For Women's History Month. Nay, what about you? Nope. Okay. You might have to she'll be joining us in a second. I have to get my engineer to let her in when she comes back. But so, when did I first fall in love with hip hop? I feel like I've been watching all the interviews that has been going on lately, and so I don't know a world without it, right? So it's like it was just always there. But with that, but my mother, she is a house head, so like hip hop just kind of creeped in. Um, and I can say when I knew it was there, right? Like, all right, this is something different. Is when I saw Biggie. 'Cause I was like, oh, bro, he looked like me. You know what I'm saying? I always been a, big boy, and I was just like, man, like this cat flowing, got the ladies, super smooth, um, and like super like a heavy spitter, and so that just kind of like started me on my journey. Lamont, could you let her back in? Yeah, so that kind of started me on my journey. And Nay, when did you fall in love with hip hop?
I would say probably when I was like 10. I feel like 10 was pivotal for me because my mom got me my own, like, for lack of a better word, like boombox for my room. So now I get to listen to what I want to listen to and kind of like explore my musical taste. So I would certainly say around 10 years old. And I don't know if I should be saying this, but Ludacris' first album drop. Certainly a 10-year-old should not be
Come on now.
listening to that. But I love that album. I still revisit that album. I can't believe that I was listening to those words as a little kid. But it's just something about that album and him, and also Nelly, which he was popular at the time.
Bro,
He was from
Nelly had
the Midwest, and I
chokehold.
remember like watching that video and later on learning the story about that video. And basically he's like, I'm doing a video shoot, everybody come out. So like everybody came to his video shoot for that Country Grammar video, and I just felt like that was so cool. So I would say those are, and it happened like roughly in the same year, like that 10
So
or 10-year-old 5th grade year.
To that point, I remember me, my mother, and my brother, we took a road trip to see like her friend in St. Louis, and we listened to Country Grammar on repeat the whole way there because that was the only album that we could all agree on. So we kept, just put it like we would flip it through the CD, couldn't find nothing, and just be like, all right, put it just. And so for like 5 hours,
Run it back.
we listened to Country Grammar. But so that is a good transition. Carmen, I'll kick it to you. So what was the first hip hop album you purchased with your own money, if you can remember?
I want to say, so I think it's a tie between Farside and like the Blue Planets, maybe.
I'm loving these picks.
Yeah. Okay. I think it was like 2 for like $7. Oh, am I sounding like my grandmother? Y'all don't know her, but
2 for $7?
Yeah.
I break this 10,
You know?
Right. Nate, was it Ludacris?
No. It was not. And I'm not going to talk about my first album. I'm going to tell a different story.
Let me know.
So when I was in college, Wale's first studio album
came
out.
Hold on. I got to interrupt her. Yo, Wale had Naomi in a chokehold for the longest. But go ahead.
To be fair, I felt like in the midst of hip-hop, Wale was the one artist at the time that spoke to me and my experience. Like, he rapped about like dark-skinned girls. He talked about being in college, like things that I was going through. So I want to say it might have been like my sophomore year. So Wale's album comes out. I only have $10 to my name. And so I choose the album because if I bought gas, I could not go and tell my mom I don't have the Wale album. But I could go and tell my mom I don't have gas. So I went on the way home, leaving school. I bought my Wale album and brought it home, and then told my mom my tank was empty, and she helped.
Ambitious girl, your drive drives me crazy. I want to Stay
Oh,
with you. I
oh.
know. See, I know it. I knew it because she made me listen to it.
Was it
Man.
on a CD?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we bought CDs. So I'm gonna tell you mine. So it was at Coconuts in Hyde Park, where the Silver Room currently resides.
Mm.
I went there to buy "Beware of the Dog," Bow Wow's first album, and I didn't have enough money for the CD, so I had to buy it on cassette tape.
Mm.
That was the
Mm.
first album that I bought. And then I'll say, secondly, I remember going to buy "Get Rich or Die Trying,"
Mm.
and I was so excited to buy it. I ran, and it was probably at Mr. Wax.
Mm.
I got the album, and so I remember the next day I listened to it all night, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
next day we're in class, everyone's rapping "Many Men," right? Many men wish death upon. So they're rapping it, but I'm like, I don't know these words. And I looked, and I had the edited version, so it was just like "Many Men," like it didn't have. They just had a whole bunch of guns.
Oh
And
God.
so I had to go back when I got some more money and then buy the album again.
Mm.
Um, and that was
Mm.
that was a moment. Okay, as we move along, getting to know each other. I'm going somewhere with this. I'm going somewhere with this. I promise you. But my last part about just hip hop. What about concerts? What's your favorite hip hop concert you've been to?
Mm.
Anybody got an answer? I'll tell mine while y'all think about it.
Okay.
So I remember I've seen Jay-Z twice.
Mm-hmm.
But the last time I went to see Hove, I saw him by myself at the United Center. And it was when it was an amazing concert. It was amazing. Just him, band, but there was a moment the brother from Lincoln Park had passed, and he was
Mm.
doing encore with Lincoln Park. And then it was like, a moment of silence. And I started to cry because, like, I felt the gravity, like tens of thousands of people being present in one moment. It just like felt that weight. It was unlike any experience. I don't think anybody but Hov could do that. Maybe Michael Jackson or something, but that was like my favorite concert ever, hip hop or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
What about you guys?
So just a quick disclaimer. So I'm an artist myself. So like
Tell me about your concert then. What
I
you
know,
do?
right? But this goes back to like hip hop because when I was talking about I was hazed into like hip hop, there was like a crew of us, and they would do these ciphers outside of like Sub T, the Buddha Lounge,
Not
Funky Buddha
subterranean.
Lounge, and then is another place that used to be under the Green Line on 55th. That's was
Mhm.
called the Underground. So anywho, like Chicago Poetry, my boy Malak L, like these were like so many folk that Rashid Hadi, who is a dope producer.
Mm.
But I say all of that to say that those were the concerts that just had me like, yeah, like you can feel it all. Then I can do
Mm.
my little hum and hum in the background. But the concert, I guess, on like, I guess Jay-Z level was Kendrick Lamar. So I
Mhm.
never go to concerts in our city because I need to be close. So I try to find like tickets in the surrounding cities to be able to get closer seats. So I
Mhm.
drove to Milwaukee and saw Kendrick, and I was like right there. So I had practiced all the lyrics. Like I was trying to I was like, if he just give me the mic, it's gonna be my opportunity. But it was just his energy. Like we made eye contact at once.
Oh, he saw
And
you.
yeah, and I literally, and y'all, I can't even. I'm gonna find it. It's somewhere on my mess behind the screen. But I had a microphone. I brought a portable microphone just for attention. I know doing too much. That's that Aquarius in me. Like he's going to make eye contact. He's going to be glamored. Y'all, that show was amazing. And you know how it's so amazing when you driving, like that little short drive coming back home. I
Mhm.
was just on repeat. and I couldn't like shake it, you know. So it was dope. In school, that's when I was introduced to like Schoolboy Q. I fell in love with Sir, who wasn't
Mm,
he wasn't out like that, you know, then well at least not out like that to me.
yeah.
Um and I was just like, man, I'm on a whole nother level. Whole nother level. Yeah.
Mm. So I gotta ask, what was your name? Was it just Carmen or?
Nah, everybody. So the shortness of it, because I was trying to be real deep. At first, it was like on MySpace, Soul of Wisdom, you know, and then everybody called me Wisdom, or whatever. Because I came from like that poetry. You know, it's crazy because now is we were talking about it the other day with one of my friends, and she was like, man, we have just evolved. Like we're like I'm at level 45 now, you know. I'm there and I'm like, I've had so much experience, but not like so I everybody calls me Wiz, like
Mm.
Wiz or Wisdom. And you know, that's connected to a number of things, 5%, you know, hip hop culture, like
Come on
all
now. What the?
yeah, yeah. You know, I'm telling y'all, I was trying to be deep. I still am, but I'm not deep. I was one. I'll come back to that in just a second.
Okay. Well, Naomi has heard some of my terrible raps. I went by the Ace of Spade, and yeah,
Come
we
on,
went there.
bust that 16 out or 8 bar. Come on.
It's the Ace of
Uh,
Spade. Run the
uh.
block like a renegade. I'm so all right. That's it. That's it. That's
It
all you
was.
get. That's all you get. That's all you
Why
get.
was
That's all
I
you
ready to do this? And you was like,
get. So, um, but so as we sharing, like hip hop has been a part of our lives, right? And we're all educators, and so there is an article from Grammy.com titled "Hip Hop Education: How 50 Years of Music and Culture Impact Curricula Worldwide" by Sister Tamara Palmer. Let me say her name right, Tamara Palmer. And it talks about how hip hop was a thing, right? We talked about like in my life it was always hip hop. I don't have a world where hip hop didn't exist, right? But it was a thing that was once criticized by academia, and then kind of over time, it has been studied and distilled and provided us with all these pedagogies and curriculum. And I wanted to ask you guys, how has hip hop impacted your educational experience?
mm,
I like
Like my own or how I deal with students.
either. I have a personal and professional, response. So however you want to answer it.
Let me think here.
So Nay, I could give you a little budge. Like you talked about on the show a while ago, like your shoe game, right?
I'm yeah. So I was really thinking on the personal side that I don't know if I'm a reader in general, so I like to read and all in that process, like I read Get Rich or Die Trying 50 Cent's book, and I like Decoded, which is Jay-Z's book, like really unlocked some of his songs for me, as well as just like some other things in general. But I think on the professional side, I'm a sneakerhead, if it's no secret. But has really unlocked my relationships with students at different points. So my first school, this little bitty school on the south side of Chicago, and I just started wearing. I saw the kids wearing them. I was like, well, I'm gonna wear mine too. And then it just kind of like created this like through line for them to like talk to me. And before I knew it, they're like, Miss Naomi, how you get those shoes? I'm like, I'm grown. I got a job. I don't have to get good grades to get my shoes. And like I was able to like build a rapport with them. And then even students that weren't necessarily into sneakers, like there were other things. Like I remember we had a student that was into K-pop, and I remember like asking her questions about like which artist she liked, and then like making an effort to like listen to those particular artists to like just know like what she was into. But shoes was kind of like the introduction of like this is how I can be a presence to students. And even still, I call myself like an educational auntie. I'm not somebody that's like, you got in trouble or whatever, but like I would walk through the house like, ooh, you got in trouble. You know you shouldn't be doing that. What could you do to be better? Like, just trying to obviously like be a positive presence in their world, but not like come down hard on them or like build some connection. I'm a firm believer in like, you do not get to discipline a child without a relationship with them. So that's a very long answer, but the short one is like my shoes, my sneakers as a part of hip hop culture or streetwear has certainly allowed me to build connection and rapport with students in my career.
Dope. Carmen, you got something?
Yeah. So, I've always been into conscious rap, rap with a message. I felt at the time that music could really like save lives. So like before I got into education as an artist, I was going to win my Grammy, build my own freedom school. It was going to be for us by us. Like it was just, that was the plan. So
love it.
So I would say and let me also say I was wrapping my hair like big earrings, walking in feeling like the drums were behind me. So I've always worked in high schools except for one elementary school, and as a school. So I started off in education as a school counselor, and so I always used to say, students need to be mentally sound in order to be academically successful. Do you know who you are, who you really are? Like, I was just coming. And so they was like, and I love how you said in there, like the auntie, like the educational auntie, because I always sort of have embraced that. Just because I'm a love on you, but I'm also going to correct behavior. We're going to have a dialogue about it. I always had music playing, but I felt like hip hop music, I'm all into the beat, right? So if the beat will draw them in, so if they come into my office, and they bobbing their head like, oh, Miss Mahon. And I'm like, all right, spit something. How you feeling? Tell me how you feeling, So I would say, yeah. So I literally would say that was a part of sort of like my passion about this work. And then from there, I felt like, and I know this is a transparent conversation, but because so many of our children don't know who they are and whose they are, like they gravitate to me in that way. And I try to just make sure, I'm like, check this out. I want you to go listen to this and then come back and follow up with me tomorrow. Let's have a dialogue. I would bring snacks, fruit, tea, just trying to create an atmosphere. Like it don't have to be like that. Cause let me also say this. I've always worked in the hood, and sometimes I'm one to get into the dirt, but I don't play well in the sand. And I say that intentionally because sometimes I used to have to get at folk, like even at parents who were like, I'm older than the parents, So, just using music, playing music, and just another caveat, because I'm a hip hop girl and I'm a G queen and I love hip hop. So I say that too, because when I'm pulling up, I'm always playing something that, whether it's Kendrick, cause that's my boo, whether it's, I listen to Jay-Z. Was really feeling that 444 album. And I love his work that he did with Kanye as well. But I'm like Common, I'm like KRS-One, Pete Rock, Eric Sermon. Like I'm playing that. So it draws folks in and it just sparks that conversation. And I think that relational piece with me starting off education as a school counselor was just key for me building relationships. Now, I will say that over the years, like I got students that are like 30, so you look and you be like, man, where did time go? What? And then they always yelling at me when I walk into a store, like, Miss Mahon, like, why you yelling out my government name? But it's just been I feel, and this is a long-winded answer, but I feel like my unique experiences as an artist and a lover of all music, but specifically like hip hop and R&B, it sparks another conversation, especially when young people are dealing with trauma, especially when young folks, don't have the foundation, at home, or just not feeling safe in this world, not feeling like they have a voice. Like all of those things, I sort of integrate into how I navigate young folk. I know that was
No, that's what we're looking for. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I can say, um, personally, every great movie has a dope soundtrack, right? And so, hip hop was like the soundscape through which I like connected with my classmates. So if it was Nelly, if it was Dipset, I went bald in high school because Birdman was my favorite rapper. I was 14 and I like shaved my hair bald. Man, don't be so disappointed, okay? Um, but like it was because of hip hop, that you in there and like in between lessons, like it made me want to go to school because that's where everybody else was. I was listening to, my music. But professionally, like we all share, like we able to connect with students through like the different pillars. So if it's not just the music, but like in Nay's case, there was the fashion sense, or if it was, I remember I taught cheerleading at my first. I did a lot. I taught cheerleading at the first school that I worked at, and I like created the
yes.
dances for the girls for the competition, and we won. Um, and I remember, I remember, I love Shakespeare, right? Absolutely love Shakespeare, and I was teaching English at an alternative school, and so you know everyone's test scores said they can't read and don't speak English and all that type of stuff. But I was able to juxtapose like the Hamlet stanzas next to Biggie lyrics, and like we got through Biggie. We got through Hamlet and Midsummer Night's Dream and Othello, which is my favorite. Just using hip hop, and it was like, bro, this is just telling stories. There's a lot of drama in here, just like the things that you listen to. So, hip hop is dope. We are going to transition, Carmen. We want, we have you here. We want to get to know you a little better, right? And or Wiz, as you go by. So, Wiz, why don't you start by, kind of just sharing about your educational journey, like grammar school, high school, college, like, where your educational roots are.
Woo! So the microwave version. I attended St. Dorothy in Chatham, and then I went to Mother Macaulay.
All right.
And so I've been a Catholic school girl. Are you? Why are you doing that, Nate?
Come on, man. Talk about it.
Because I'm a Maria girl.
Oh my God. Come on through, Catholic school girl. Pretty, I'm pure heathen, but it is, I'm spiritual. I'm on a whole nother level, but, I think
you connected. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Thank you. Thank you, sis. Thank you for that. I believe in confessing. No. But from there, like and this is why I got into school counseling, because at Macaulay, it was only a few of us there. And I didn't feel like I was like socially and emotionally supported. Like I realized what racism was, attending that school. I had some unique experiences. So I think about it too, just trying to find my voice and trying to know who I am. And, this is the 90s or early 90s. So, you then begin to have conversation about like colorism and just like so many layers to unpack as a young teenager traveling, getting up early in the morning. Cause I thought white people had CB time, cause I would be on that 95th Street, the bus depot, getting on that bus at like 6 o'clock in the morning so I can be on time to school because it was so far, But I also at that time learned the power of sacrifice. Like with my mom and my grandmother, they were intentional about paying that tuition. But as I was trying to figure out what I was doing after college, well, after high school, I didn't, astroplane right there. But like literally, I'm like, I want to go away, but then I want to stay. But there was no real dialogue. And I would say that the first like interruption of my plan was I took the ACT and I got an 18. And I remember that they had identified every student that got like an 18 or less, and we had to do this like mandatory Saturday school to learn the skills. And I'm just like, I know this. Maybe I'm just not a good. So I was like, that was my first like revolution. And then, but I'm glad that I did. I'm glad I was forced to do it, because the next time I took it, I got a 26. I was like, I ain't taking it no more. But that got me into a number of schools. But the crazy part is that I didn't know nothing about the schools. Like no one had talked to me about it, financial aid, like scholarship opportunities. When I went to my counselor, she was really looking like, you really need to go do hair, pretty much at Dudley on 95th. Like it was really that type of like lack of connection and relationship, right? So I overheard, I will never forget this. I overheard some of my friends talking about some colleges that they had applied to, because they had older siblings, and a number of us had went to St. Dorothy and went there. So I was just like, well, if they going, I'm gonna apply, And that when in retrospect, I was like, I'm never going, if I go into education, I'm never going to be that type of counselor or teacher. Like I really want to be intentional about helping young people have accurate information to make sound decisions. Because there's an assumption that if you go to like Catholic school, like you rich, you got money. That wasn't the case. So I thought that it would be a natural transition to attend Spelman. Clearly, I had a culture shock because literally I was like, this old black money. Like, I'm like, and then I couldn't afford it. So, that was short lived. I ended up coming back to Chicago and attending DePaul University, end up being like an independent demon as an independent student, really trying to like make my way, find my voice. And if I could have got my degree in joining organizations and student spirit, that would have been a PhD. So, from there, I was like, I was going to be a doctor. Then I had one of my advanced science courses, and I was like, I can't retain all of this information. I need to be an artist. And I had some unique experiences. I was able to go on some tours and really expose me to the artist world. And so I graduated from DePaul. And then I started working in nonprofit.
Well,
but I
well,
still,
don't speedball. We're gonna get back to that that point. That's good. But important question.
Yes.
We're in a room. We have all of your St. Dorothy teachers. We have all of your St. Dorothy. What was that? That was elementary.
Elementary. Yep.
And then where'd you go for high school?
Mother McCauley. I got some of my classmates went to Mother McCauley. St. Dorothy, Mother McCauley, all the teachers, all the sisters in a room together. Mm-hmm. What would be the consensus on the type of student that you were? What would they say the type of student you were? Oh, let me clutch my pearl. No. I think with elementary school, like I remember like the Miss Armors, the Miss Hendersons, Miss Nash. Like I can remember those names, right? And I would say that was based on my relationship with them at St. Dorothy. And, St. Dorothy was a different experience from Mother McCauley. And so I kind of expected sort of like those same relationships to transition into high school. So I would say that they would say that I was eccentric, that I was I would say that I was like a little Rudy Huxtable, like we had to wear uniforms, but I still wanted to throw on some purple jewelry and some earrings, even at that age. When I went to Mother McCauley, the only teacher that I can remember is Miss Capra. She was a social studies teacher. And I just felt like she was like pushing the envelope on like U.S. history, which engaged me, especially during that time. And I would say that she would say that I would be like the next policymaker. So But everybody else at that school, it is what it is.
So no Sister Act 2 moments.
No Sister Act 2 moments.
Oh.
No.
Joy,
No.
joy,
And
joy, joy.
but I will say that I started singing in the choir at St. Dorothy.
Okay.
Miss Berry was the music teacher. She the one who taught us the African I can't remember the songs, but it was dope, and I felt like I was speaking, a whole nother language. So I used to sing in the hallway, like, yeah, you hear me, la la la. Mother Macaulay, though, I did sing at our senior event. I had a group. We were called the CABs. I think that's related to like the Cabbage Patch Kids at the time, but it's so crazy because Jodeci had just did that on the radio station, I think with Pink House, and they was like, "When you think of love, you think of," and then he was like, "Ooh yeah," that part. So and I recorded it on a tape deck because I thought it was powerful. So we changed the words, trying to listen and trying to change it up or whatever, and we ended up performing it at one of our school events, and everybody was like, "Yeah, y'all did." We was doing okay. I digress, but that's pretty much like, I think that I've been consistently different.
Okay.
I think all of my teachers will say that.
Okay. That's beautiful. I need to hear these recordings after the show. Talked about being on tour, kind of having some experience with the music industry, and then you kind of began talking about working for nonprofits. And so talk to us how you ended up in education.
I realized that I could not survive off of an artist's experience. Like my lifestyle, what I wanted, what I desired would require me to be in spaces, and I'm just like, I just can't sacrifice my livelihood. Is there a way for me to be able to do more? And I will say that I got back into I would say that I got back into education. So I don't know if you remember this. In CPS, there was a time where you could get paid during the summer. That it was like you consistently got a check, and
I remember.
And then it stopped. So when it was like that, I was able to do some tours, and it was good. It was like the best experiences that I've had. I've been on tour like Kendrick the Family Soul, Erykah Badu, Common Dead Press. I wrote for Outkast. So I'm thinking like Gangsta Shit is the song, by the way. Being able to have that experience, and I couldn't get to the multiple thousand mark, right? And then I was like, I can't survive like this. And so I ended up, when I worked at nonprofit, that was the introduction into schools. And I was like, I feel like I really can't do what I really need to do not in the system. Like I needed to be in the system in order to make change. So worked on my counseling degree. Ended up being a school counselor at a number of schools. Well, let me not say a number, 3 schools. And that was the introduction to education. I didn't want to be a teacher, even though I taught like summer school, but I didn't want to be a teacher. I needed to work on like that inner core work. I felt like it was a deeper connection with me, with young people, and there was a need. I feel like I was gifted, and I still am, but gifted in certain realms of like spirituality and connectivity with young folk. And for me to be able to use those gifts in the school and then talk about your future and then give you all these programs to be involved in, that is how it kind of like sucked me in. And I haven't turned back.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go off my script a little bit because counselors are something that's important to me. My grandmother was a counselor for 100,000 years and worked at every school in CPS, and so I've just seen the critical work that you do in young people's lives. But now you're the citywide STEM initiatives manager. I said that right?
Yes.
Okay, and so it's a two-part question. What does STEM education mean to you? And what exactly do you do? What does that work entail?
Right? So I got exposed to STEM education a little bit over 10 years ago. I became the early college STEM program manager with the district. I was housed at Michelle Clark Westside, right? Um, and so from that experience, I just began to like gain a bunch of knowledge, going to conferences, what I wanted to do, because at the time, just a little historical piece is that the schools that became STEM schools in 2012 were really like technically failing schools. Like this was like the last resort. And then there was one new STEM school that started off as a STEM school. So they had a new building, everything. So it almost felt like we were like the lost children in a sense. And we really needed to just figure out a way to make sure that our young people have the talent, have, the gifts to be able to have a voice in STEM careers. And a number of them didn't even know. And the school that I was at really focused in on technology. We were partnered with an industry partner. We were able to just really do some intentional things around educating young folks about the possibility. And then for me, my little sprinkle is just like, man, y'all into music, y'all want to rap and, sound engineering is STEM, just trying to make those connections with young folk. So from there, I literally just took it from there and ran. Like people were trying to figure out like how y'all doing that. People can be like that, your little job kind of, that
Mm-hmm.
undertone.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that because we know who we are, and not only do we know who we are, but we also have the ability and the capability to impact this world. And, Chicago can be a really unique place politically on the educational spectrum as well. And you're like, where are the resources going? How are we really talking about equity and access? So I began to ask those questions and just kind of created some pathways, and I wasn't giving up the secrets, but from there, I was able to, see this position. And at first I was like, nah, I'm comfortable. I'm going to retire here.
Mm-hmm.
And, then folks, how they're just universal messages that come through the waves at night,
Exactly.
So I literally, this job just kept popping up. Apply, got it. And I have never felt in my professional career like I love young people, and that was a part of the training. But working, I believe at the central office level, I'm able to demystify some things. I'm also able to be transparent and having courageous conversation, because people be acting like they scared to talk. Like, we human. And let's name the barriers, right? Let's figure out how to give so and so or so and so this. I can say that I have learned a lot about the district, and how we navigate. And I'm like, I got to be a part of the solution. So with my position was redefined by my executive director, Dr. Kelly Easterly, who I'm just like, oh, I will slash somebody's tires if they mess with you, kind of thing. Like, how you find people that,
100%.
they don't have no agenda. They just real. And
That's
you can be,
Renee.
yes. And so that's her. And so, I am really responsible for like our third priority, which is advancing STEM belonging, and providing STEM resources to families and communities, with intentionality. And so I love it because it also reconnects me to the work as a counselor, right? Relationships. That's number one, right? But the other piece, as I'm navigating this space, people will be like, I didn't know. Well, I wished I would have known. Or how can I be more involved? And well, I spoke to this person and they no longer there. There's just like layers. And I'm like, I'm just going to, deem myself as glue, like the stem glue. And I'm going to be making these connections. And then as I'm trying to make these connections with folks for them to have access, I also learned that there's, teacher shortages. I also know that, even though there's STEM connected to a name, that there still needs to be some work. Like this is an ever evolving expansion of learning. Also helping young people reimagine what education should really feel like. So they're not bored, needs to be some, we got different type of learners. This generation can rewrite code and, do their papers in AI chat, but it's just like so much going on. So my whole thing now is we are the department that educates the educator, but what we have to realize and have to push is that parents are the first educators. And so most of the parents don't feel connected. They just expect, well, you the teacher, or they had a negative experience with a school and they like, because it's too busy. Life be lifing, right? So for me, I'm trying to ignite that spark to let parents know, like, yo, this is what you can be, talking about at dinner. Uh-oh.
You muted.
I don't know what just
Okay.
happened. I think that's because I'm talking about some stuff. I'm planting seeds.
See?
Right?
It was they. We are talking about they be listening, and then your devices start working. Someone just called me. It was they.
It was they. We on the same page.
So sure.
That threw me off. But bottom line is that from in this short amount of time, we have developed our family guides to student success in STEM, which is really giving parents and this phase one, but giving them a document so you can have, questions to ask teachers when you're going, to those schools, a report card pickup, really trying to just be like, well, why is my child, struggling in math, and science? And this is what they should be learning. Is this happening? How is this happening? And not to say that any teacher is not doing that, but we do know that folks have experiences in those places that are really customer service when you think about it. Right. And sometimes there's sort of like this educational elitism that happens from parents to teachers or schools as an entity and parents. Like we are shareholders in this work, and most folks, and I'm intentional about saying sharing because we got to share this responsibility. Because if I give this child an opportunity and it's free and it's paid, but they got to go pick up so-and-so, and then take them home, get them settled, then do their homework. It's a lot going on there. And we gotta make sure that we are valuing education. And I say that even so, and I just had this conversation yesterday. I'm like, at the end of the day, if people look at the history of schools, it really wasn't designed for us. So we overstand that. So how can we be a part, and I'm not saying infiltrate, but infiltrate the system so that young people can get this paper, be exposed, learn about the fact that you got multiple post-secondary pathways that may not include college. It may include certification. You can get paid like 90, 100,000 with just certain certifications, especially within this field of STEM. In addition to that knowledge, when I talked about like as a counselor, I wanted young people to have the information. So that's part of my push too. I need to make sure you have accurate information. So we actually launched our district-wide website and providing every day we're updating it, but because there's so many opportunities out there, there's so many games that could help strengthen math and science, skills, computer science, like this, but it didn't exist before in this capacity. And that's why we're trying to be intentional about making sure that you belong in STEM. Like, this is not something that's just for a certain people, a certain pedigree. And we also know, so, and this is just a little secret sauce, our logo on our website is a blue young lady with her fist up, and her name is Justice. And my executive director is just dope like that. And when she tells the story, you know how you just like, ooh, I felt that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know that young girls are underrepresented in STEM, and women are underrepresented in STEM fields. This is the work. This is the intentionality. We will change that logo when the data changes.
Come
So
on.
it's really putting the visual in front of the people to know that this is real and this is reality. So I pause right there because you'll get me.
No. That
That's
was
amazing.
I think we
That
just
was
want
a
to take a
word.
moment to just internalize. Yeah, I needed all of that. So, to that point, Nas has a quote from the same article from the Grammys. It says, "Hip hop is important like computer science.
Oh,
The world is changing. If you want to understand the youth, listen to the music. This is what's happening right underneath your nose." And I think that when you spoke about the belonging piece in the STEM initiatives, is very, very important. So, last segment before we get out of here, because this is also important to what we do here at Everyday Educators. And as we believe everyone is an educator and we educate every day, we read. So, 2 questions quickly. What is the greatest book, your favorite book, how do you want to answer? Greatest book you ever read, and what is the last book you read?
Let me start off with the last book I read was The Professional Troublemaker by Lovey Jones. And I say that because in this work, the imposter syndrome likes to sneak up, and I have to like slay it. So that is just my last one. But man, first of all, I love books. I got a whole wall of books. But I will say Algorithms of Oppression was a dope book. Talked about, it's like how search engines reinforce racism. I love Bell Hooks' All About Me. I love Asada. I read that 50 million times. It was just speaking to my inner shundo. Then the reawakening, the reawakening of the African mind. Dr. Asa Hilliard, I had the pleasure of meeting him when I used to work with Dr. Barbara Sizemore at DePaul University. Just phenomenal. Of course, the Freedom Schools, Dr. Kelly. Like, these are books that I just read. You know, during the pandemic, I was like on it. Like, I'm like, ugh. So I would say those are in my top, but then I got a bunch of others. So I'll send them to you just in case you.
Okay. No. So we give a weekly update on the books that we read or in the process of reading. And I know that I'm always on the hunt for a good book. And you know, my dream is to have the library that Belle had on Beauty and the Beast. Like, that is like my goal. So I'm always looking for, you know, a good book. And that's our show, y'all. You know, I wish we had more time to spend with you, Carmen, because, well, this is not gonna be your last time. Now that I know you, Wiz, like I know your story, you definitely gonna come back. Because I do have more questions for you. But it's all the time that we, you know, have today. So to everyone listening, I want to thank you for going on this journey with us. I'm here at Everyday Educators. We educate every day.